well, now I feel like I'm a real Bitcoiner but I get it, because you're in it like long enough through like maybe a couple cycles, and then you see that it's going up. So, but we actively spend Bitcoin as well. So.
Lexi, we got you back in for a little real estate checkup.
Thank you for having me. I always am so impressed by that intro video. It's like, I want to go there.
You are there.
Here I am.
Well, I got my ridiculous blue blocker glasses on again because we're recording at night, which, I usually don't like to do, but you're just too busy during the day, so we couldn't get you in a normal time. So I'm trying to stay on my sleep schedule. Yeah. So that's what happens when you get old. It's hard to sleep.
Yeah,
so.
It's happening to me already.
Well, you should, it should not be happening to you yet.
Well,
so I think it's more you have a new, because
I have
you
have a 1.5-year-old, so that I guess
you have an infant.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, stoked to have you back in here again. I know we recorded with you in Chimbera. Was that a year ago or
something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Time flies. It was
9
a while
months ago.
Yeah.
So want to just kind of do a check-in with the real estate market. Obviously you guys have a real estate company here, Good Life Real Estate. And so you kind of have your fingers on the pulse of things. And so, yeah, want to delve into that. And then just some of the other things as you have clients that are moving here, what you're seeing, other needs. I know you guys went and visited international schools today, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And just your sense of, I know initially when the Bitcoin law was passed, there was a wave of people coming in. Just curious if that's continued or if it's kind of plateaued. And so, yeah, so we'll kind of cover a bunch of different things.
Okay.
And then obviously talk about the what are you guys calling them? The trips that you guys
discovery trips.
Discovery trips for people that can kind of come down and in one swoop, like meet lawyers, see properties, get a sense of what it's like living here, and you guys kind of handle all the details. So we'll talk about that at the end.
Okay. Great.
So yeah.
Where should we start?
What's happening in the real estate market here in El Salvador?
Yeah, so now we're in May, end of May. So I think like we're seeing, this is typical this time of year where there's a little bit of a slowdown because now we're entering the rainy season, so we don't have as many people coming, although there's more than there used to be. But I think we're still seeing a lot of real estate interest here. I think mostly for pre-construction development. Still, people are looking for that vacation home that they can.
They want something turnkey.
Something turnkey, and then something that they can use 2 or 3 months out of the year, or a month out of the year, and then generate rental income when they're not using it. So we're seeing that become more and more popular. I think the pre-construction model.
So those people tend to want something that's part like a condo that's part of a complex or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And we're seeing development move towards, like, at least for us, I don't know about other real estate companies, but we're still seeing more and more developers focused on condominiums. It's easier than like a standalone house. To maintain and everything. So that's kind of where we're seeing a lot of the interest, but then we also have a lot of people still coming here and wanting to relocate entirely, like not just looking for a vacation place, but a place to move their family. So we were with a client today at the Escuela Americana. So we were at the American school. We're looking at different schools and we're sort of helping them with the whole process of discovery for like, do they want to move their family here or not?
Hey guys, just a brief interruption. We'll get back to the exciting show here, but I just want to really ask a favor that you guys could make sure that you're subscribed if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast, please take a second and review this. You don't even have to write a lengthy review or anything at all. Just click the number of stars that you want to give us. It really helps us in the algorithms to make sure people are finding out about what's happening here. All right, back to the show.
So there's still a mix of people, a lot of Bitcoiners still coming to El Salvador. Most of our clients are Bitcoiners, and definitely hermanos lejanos too. We're seeing more and more Salvadorians coming back.
And for people who don't know what that means, so that means it's like I don't know what it means technically. It's like long lost brother. Or...
Yeah, I think it is like brothers afar,
Yeah.
maybe lejanos. But yeah, that's Salvadorians who are,
been in the U.S. for the last couple decades. A lot of them have had businesses or have done well, and now they're coming back and investing in the country.
Yeah, and we get a lot of leads, like a lot of inbound questions, like, I'm so-and-so, I want to move my mom to El Salvador. She grew up there. She wants to go back and retire there. So we want to come and look at real estate options. So that's pretty cool. We had sisters come and stay at one of our discovery trips, and they were like super excited and jazzed about coming back to El Salvador. So yeah, I would say that's kind of the pulse on the market right now.
And then what about as far as supply? What are you guys seeing? Is there more? Because it felt like for a while there was like zero supply. It seems like now maybe there's a little bit more when things have kind of leveled off a little bit. But I don't know. You're the expert. So.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more projects come to completion. So whether that's condominium projects or developers who are doing small homes, like we are seeing, I would say, more coming onto the market, more pre-construction development. So I think that there's more available. What I would say, it's interesting, maybe 4 years ago, we'd have people wanting to come down to El Salvador and knock on doors, right? And see like what they can find off the market. And what I think is interesting is that just doesn't really exist like as much now. You know, you're looking at things that you're not going to go to San Blas and knock on doors and see if somebody wants to sell.
No, they've already had 100 people knock on their door.
Exactly.
And yeah.
It's just not the reality of the real estate market anymore, but you are seeing, I would say like more availability, probably the most in terms of projects. You have, the Cliff. The Cliff is a new subdivision project near San Salvador, so that's new. You can buy lots. We do have that project.
What are those lots starting at?
I think they're around 250,000. I need to look at the pricing sheet exactly, but yeah, about 250,000 up to 350,000.
And for how big of a lot?
For I need to look at my pricing sheet. I can do that. But not huge lots. Yeah. Like, something that you could build a house and you can build on, I think about 25 to 35% of the property. So it's not a huge amount of land. But yeah, we're seeing more subdivisions where you can buy a lot and build, or pre-construction condominiums.
Okay. Yeah. And do most of your clients, are they like looking at one or the other, or are they kind of looking at both? Like they don't really know if they want a lot or if they want a condo, or?
Most of our clients don't know what they want. Yeah. Right. And so that's kind of why we have the discovery trips, truly, because we'll get people writing us saying, I want to buy a house in San Salvador. I want to buy like a condo near the beach. And then they get here and we show them different options and they might change their mind. So I think it's yes, most of our clients are buying into projects, but I think really our clients don't necessarily know what they want before they come here, if that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
So, but yeah, I think there's still a lot of demand. I really do. It's just we're entering a little bit of a slow period right now, and it will pick up again in November, but still.
And that's kind of the seasonal norm.
Yeah.
For here.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about as far as just like raw land that's not part of a development? Is that?
Yes, that would be mainly people looking to come here and do projects. So we do have people looking for larger pieces of land. And again, like the prices just range dramatically from one area to the next. I would say like ocean view is big. Like I want to buy a piece of ocean view land and build, because a lot of I would say that's maybe another thing. When we first started our real estate company, a lot of people were looking for oceanfront property, or like, how can I get my hands on oceanfront? Now we have people more interested in being like, maybe a 10-minute drive or 5-minute drive.
And that's mostly just because of price.
It could be price, available, supply. You're not going to find anything oceanfront to build your house. And also I think things are changing. Maybe people who thought they wanted to live in a small surf town, there's more tourism, more hotels, more restaurants, and they want to buy something that's like
a little quieter,
but close. Yeah. So that's also been something we've seen as a trend.
Well, you also pay a huge maintenance tax to be right on the water.
Yeah.
I can speak from firsthand to
Yeah,
that.
I
mean,
know.
Stuff just does not last,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of upkeep.
This is
So
something
it's beautiful. I have no regrets, but it's
Yeah.
you pay that tax.
Things rust
Yeah.
very quickly. We actually started, we're offering a furniture package for some of our clients who have purchased in condominiums, and they were putting, they're putting the furniture on there, and I'm like, nope, no, we need,
Nothing with metal.
Nothing with metal. And they're like, but I'm like, is that going to rust? They're like, no, it's not going to rust. No,
Yeah, no, don't
no
believe
metal.
them.
Let's not
Do not believe them. I don't care if it's
metal.
stainless. I don't
Yeah.
care. I mean, when we built this place, we had people promise us, we had a bunch of stainless rail, and they're like, no, it's guaranteed not to rust. It was lliterally within a week, it was rusting.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So we're trying to stay away from that. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of what's happening in real estate.
And would you say, like, for kind of a similar property where it was at a year ago versus now, say something that a year ago was 500,000, where would you say that it would be now?
It's just totally depends on where. But I would say,
You think it's gone up maybe 10%?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that there's probably land in certain areas that has increased more.
Yeah.
If somebody took a risk on a beachfront property, like a little bit outside of El Zonte or something, I think you're going to see like a higher appreciation on something like that. But for example, maybe the condominiums, for example, Wave House, maybe 10%, yeah.
Okay. No, that's kind of where I sense things are, but obviously I don't have my fingers on the pulse like you guys do.
Yeah. It will be really interesting, I think, to see what happens specifically here in El Zonte over the next couple of years. We have a lot of buyers asking, well, what's going to be my return?
Yeah.
Like if I'm buying into a condo unit, what's going to be my return? It's really hard for us to answer that question because the supply is going to change so dramatically over the next, year. So I think we're going to see what happens in the next year, 2 years, as far as rental market, supply. Is there really the demand to fill the supply in terms of renters?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see because all these condos are coming online and a lot of people are planning on Airbnb-ing them. So.
Yeah, and right now you can't find anything to rent.
So yeah.
In El Zonte, that's why I think Wave House has been really popular because you have a unit that has a kitchen, maybe 2 bedrooms, services a family, and it's newer construction. We're going to have a lot more of that coming soon. That being said, I think the demand for buying is still high.
Yeah.
The projects are selling through quite quickly. I hope that the rental demand is there, but.
And are you seeing with the purchases being done? Are you seeing a number of them done with Bitcoin?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like that's increasing?
I don't. I would say it's still the percentage of our buyers. Probably the same percentage are buying in Bitcoin.
And what percentage would you estimate that is?
For the pre-construction projects, most of them accept Bitcoin with no fee, right? You pay in Bitcoin, that's it. So for those projects, we're seeing a lot of people use Bitcoin. For other, like one piece of land or one single family home, not as much because we have to use an exchange and maybe the seller doesn't want to receive it. So it's a little bit more complicated, although it's completely possible to do it that way. But I would say probably 50% of our buyers are using Bitcoin for purchases. And one thing we're starting to see now, which if anybody wants information for this, I can give it to them. But there's a friend of ours, Noah. I don't know if you've met him.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has a company called Bitbacked. I hope I got that right. But they're doing Bitcoin mortgages. So I can't speak to that. Like I don't know enough about it.
Have you guys done any?
We have not.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we haven't. Well, one of our clients just did actually. Just did a mortgage, a Bitcoin mortgage. I don't know exactly which company he used because there's different products coming on the market. But this has been something that we've seen grow in interest. Right? People they don't want to use their Bitcoin if they don't have to. People want to hodl their Bitcoin, but they want to buy real estate. So I'm not super well versed in how it works, but I have always been hesitant because I've heard that leveraging your Bitcoin in that way is risky. But it
Yeah.
sounds like there's more products coming on that will service that.
Interesting. And do you have clients that are like planning on buying, but they're waiting for Bitcoin to hit a certain dollar price before they pull the trigger? Or?
Sure, but what's so funny is like we've had clients say, "Well, when Bitcoin gets to 50,000, that's when I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Then my budget's $1 million, And then the same client will say, "Well, when Bitcoin gets to 100, you're kind of like, I don't think you're ever gonna spend your Bitcoin."
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah.
No, people always think it's going up. So it's,
Yeah, I mean, I get it because
it never feels like a good time.
You never, and like because now I feel like I'm a real Bitcoiner but I get it, because you're in it like long enough through like maybe a couple cycles, and then you see that it's going up. So, but we actively spend Bitcoin as well. So,
no, I think it's just a matter of, if you have everything in Bitcoin, that's going to be what you're going to be spending on a day-to-day basis, but it forces you to be more frugal with things.
Yeah,
so
it's true. I know,
it's good. It puts a check on you.
I've always liked your philosophy on that, and I think we were having a great conversation with clients who were in town that are good friends now, and we were talking about the fact that like there are certain things you do use your Bitcoin for, like. Well, you need a house to live in, right? So I think there's that utility side of real estate that is just
and you can't
necessary at some point.
The only thing more scarce than Bitcoin is your time. You can't recover that time, and so if you just wait your whole life, I mean, the Bitcoin's made it's money, and money is to be utilized to facilitate us living the most productive life that we can, not just for ourselves, but for others, and how the impact we can have on the world. And so if you're just like focused on acquiring a bunch, it's the same as somebody just focused on acquiring a bunch of, dollars and doesn't, ever use it and misses out on all these opportunities to have impact on other people's lives or, even their own families. And so
absolutely.
That's why I always encourage people. Yeah, of course you want to save for the future. You want to have that deferred gratification, but you can't take that too far. You also need to like live life, and one day you'll be old and you won't be able to go on that vacation or enjoy that beach house or to do those other things. And so
we see Bitcoiners who they're buying real estate here and they're using their Bitcoin for it. And of course, they're looking now for other methods of retaining as much Bitcoin as they can, but people are still they are spending it, and they're I still doing a real estate transaction with Bitcoin is always so fascinating to me because it is just so
easy.
It's so simple, and it never gets old to be like, here's your link to your QR code, and
you literally like sit down at a table and you're done in a half an hour, and like the house has been transferred, and because there's no escrow here, it happens right away. And it's just a very, very simplified process. So I know from talking to Chimbera, he said that kind of, after the announcement with the IMF thing, that there was Bitcoiners that are upset and that they were planning on moving here and now are pulling out or selling their properties here. Do you feel like that was just kind of a blip, or do you see kind of like ongoing consternation kind of coming from that? And what's your take on how that's like impacted your guys' business?
Yeah, we did not have one single client tell us that they were not investing in property in El Salvador anymore because of what transpired with the IMF.
So you didn't have any. Okay.
Not one. Now, did we have honestly, I didn't see a lot of impact from that.
Okay, good.
As far as buying real estate, definitely we're in a Bitcoin circle, and we have a lot of friends in Bitcoin, and so we definitely heard complaints about that, and saw that some people were not happy about it for sure, but I wouldn't say that it affected our business really, and we didn't have anybody tell us like, nah, I'm out, So, and then I will also answer from a separate viewpoint is that I haven't personally seen it affect our clients' use of Bitcoin in the country or the acceptance of Bitcoin.
No, I feel like it's easier to use Bitcoin now than ever.
There's
So,
no, like you can still use it at Starbucks. Not that I go there all the time, but you can still use Bitcoin everywhere. I feel like the adoption, it already started to happen. Why take it?
yeah.
Why take it away?
The cat's already out of the bag.
Yeah.
The snowball's rolling down the hill.
Yeah. So I know it was controversial, but for us, we didn't see a lot of negative impact. Yeah.
And what about, are you guys seeing, and this is something that people bring up with me all the time, so I'm just curious, since you're in it, of like, you guys are gentrifying the country, and these people are coming in and they're pushing the locals out, and do you get much pushback on that front, and what's your response to people? I'll tell you what my response is, but I'm just curious as yours.
Okay. Who I hear complain the most about this are the people.
Let me guess. Foreigners who have been here for a long time and never bought.
And their lifestyle is changing. Their lifestyle here is changing because things are more.
Which I empathize with them. They found this special place and they can't afford to be here as much as they were before.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I don't specifically hear from a lot of actual locals.
Because most of them didn't own the land, the prime land before. It was owned by wealthy Salvadorans that lived in the city. And, but a lot of the locals are benefiting from their businesses increasing and the jobs increasing and all the other things. And
and I just find that the people who make the loudest noise or complain the most are the ones that, I don't know how to describe
because it's affecting their lifestyle.
Yeah. And there's a lot of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
In a lot of the complaints that I see as well. In terms of someone's complaining about real estate, but then they're selling it, but just not publicly. I think that, like Chimbera and I always say that development brings good and bad, of course. But I will say a lot of the clients that we have specifically are people who are buying real estate and they're not just buying it to hold it or buying it to sell it in 2 years. They're buying it to start a business. Yeah. They're buying it to they're employing locals. They're moving here. If they're not moving here, they're buying a place and then they're starting a business and then they're employing local people, like John.
Yeah.
So I think I think gentrification happens in some ways. It's inevitable, but I also think it's important for and Chimbera will say this. It's important for the community to band together and talk about the things that they want to protect about their home. You know, so that's also important. But it doesn't make sense to you can complain all you want on Instagram or social media apps, but if you're not doing anything else about it, then what's the point? You know. So that's my take.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have mixed feelings with the development we see coming in. Obviously, from the jobs and the opportunities, 100%. Some of the ways it's changed the skyline and the feel and the other things, I'm obviously not wild about. But I think overall, net, it's a positive for the community, specifically for the locals.
Yeah, and there's a generation of young people who are having access to tools that generations before didn't have access to. So I think there's definitely a challenging transition period, but I guess my hope too is that young people have a lot more opportunities,
Oh, they definitely do, because there was hardly anything before, and so you're seeing them opening businesses, you're seeing them, learn English so they can increase the wages that they earn. You're seeing all kinds of things happening.
So I'm always cautious and a little bit insecure because I will never be a local. I've only been here for, almost 6 years. So, and I just happened to show up right before all of this kind of change started to happen. So
I think it's your fault. You caused it.
I did it. No, but I also lean on Chimbera a lot because he grew up in El Sante and, so.
Makes sense. So I know today you were off exploring schools with some of your clients, and as people are not just buying homes here, but moving their families here, which we see more and more, kind of from all over the world. It's not just the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
It's kind of from everywhere. What was your impression? You went to Escuela Americana today, which is my daughter graduated from there. My son actually started there, and it was too big of a school for him. He wanted to go. There was a smaller one, the international school, but my daughter graduated from EA, and it was an amazing school, amazing experience. So just curious as to what you thought.
Yeah, I was blown away. I mean, what we've heard always is that the facilities are phenomenal. So it was my first time there. We were so for context, yes, we were bringing a client there who's thinking about relocating his family, and we were doing a school tour, and it was the facilities are just beautiful. And so you have your pre-K classes, then you have your your grade school classes, your middle school, and your high school, and all of that on one campus but separated. And so walking through it was really special to see. Like we as we have Lion, and we're not sure what we're gonna do with him as far as schools go, but it was like inspiring to see like an option for him. So yeah, and we'll go see the British school on Thursday, and now I'm really curious about all the other schools in El Salvador. But we do see a lot of families thinking about relocating, which is like, especially when you're coming from a different country, you speak a different language, that's a big undertaking. But we have multiple families now where with the same shared story of, I don't feel that there's opportunity or hope or whatever it is in my home country anymore, and I'm looking for a plan B.
Yeah.
So this is one of those situations. And then, and they're moving it so much more than real estate it is. It's the schools, it's the hospitals, it's the telephone number, it's the bank account, it's everything that you need to have a functioning life in a new country.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're trying to help as much as possible with that because it's crucial, it's critical.
Yeah. So for people who are looking to move, and if you want your kid to go to kind of a credentialed school that will allow them to easily go to college anywhere in the world, there's a handful of international schools. So Escuela Americana is probably it's seen as the number one school. That's the one you visited today.
Yep.
Tuition and in Satoshi terms or Bitcoin terms is about 0.11 Bitcoin a year. So if you're still living in the fiat world, it's about $11,000 to $12,000 a year for tuition, which sounds like a lot. But then I talk to my friends who are sending their kids to private school in the U.S. and they're paying $30,000 a year, for a similar level school.
Yeah.
And so it's a very top-notch prep school. The kids that go from there go to the top schools in the U.S. and Europe. My son wound up going to the international school. It's about half the price, and it's a much smaller school. Yep. The education level's maybe not quite as good, but still great. He's going to college next year, same school as his sister who graduated from the other school, and I feel like he's equally as prepared.
Yep.
And then you guys are visiting the British school, which is kind of in between those two. I think it's $8,000-9,000 a year.
Yeah, I think it's about $8,000 a year. One thing I was thinking about in terms of real estate trends, and as it relates to families moving here or enrolling kids in the schools in San Salvador, one part of the country that's becoming more popular is Zaragoza. So for those of you listening who don't know where that is, it's basically in between San Salvador and the beach. And we're seing developments happen there. I mean, El Encanto
the big
has been really popular.
Golf course development that's there.
Yeah, so we also we represent the land and then the pre-construction homes that they're building there. Okay. So, but it's beautiful there, and if you have a family, it's great because I've never myself been a big country club person. I didn't grow up going to a country club, but here it's nice because when you have a family, that you have all the amenities. You have the pool, you have the play area, soccer field, stuff like that. So
it feels like it was airdropped out of Orange County, California. First time I went there, I was like, "What in the world?" I mean, everything's just pristine, and you really felt like you're like in Mission Viejo or something.
And you don't, it's not like communities where the homes are just like one next to the other where you have no space. It's actually like quite a bit of space in between homes. So it's kind of these beautiful rolling hills when you look out from the clubhouse. But that's been really popular, that area. So El Encanto is more luxury, higher end product and community. Then there's other properties and developments there.
Is it part of the reason because of school that the people are looking at?
Yeah, I think it's because it's like it's between the beach and the city.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in the middle of San Salvador, but you can be close enough, and then
so you don't have to, like, my son has to get up at 4:30 every morning so he can leave by 5:30.
Yeah.
And if you live there, you
traffic.
you can definitely sleep in a little more.
Exactly. So that's been really popular, and then we have Buena Vista, which is a lower ticket development, around 200, actually starting at 200,000 for a 2-bedroom home. So that services a certain type of client who we have clients who are interested in that. So there's different options for people, but that part of the country I've been seeing people more interested in, especially for families.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that makes a lot.
We'll
of sense.
see what Chimber and I do. We've been thinking more and more. If we put Lion in school, for example, we've been thinking about the German school. If we're going to put him in school, maybe that would be a good one. But like they have to start at 3. I'm thinking we have all the time in the world to figure this out, but because they're going to learn another language, so you have to
especially
start
if you're going to go put them in the German school.
School, maybe not, but we don't know yet, really. But we've just been thinking ourselves about like, okay, maybe we need to invest in a city location if we end up doing that, right? Like I have friends now who moved to Los Sueños because they're putting their kid in the British school.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are kind of the things.
Yeah,
we
did the in between. We got a condo in the city, and would stay there a few nights a week. But yeah, the kids didn't want to leave the beach.
Yeah,
they're like, no way. So,
but you start to think about these things, and then it affects your real estate decisions, and like so. And then I think even just us as your life personally changes, you also start to relate to clients differently, right? So
yeah, before you're like, why would you want to live there?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I could see why you'd want to live there.
Yeah, exactly. And you just relate over like kids and so.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So the other thing for people who are thinking about moving here, that when you think about schools, they have what they call the matricula. And so you pay, it's this one-time fee when you go into a school. And the majority of them have it, and it's pretty steep. It's about a half year's tuition or a semester's tuition. So you kind of want to pick the school you want to stay in because you don't get it back even if they just stay for a semester or if they go there all 12 years. The one school that doesn't do that is the international school where my son's at now. And they tend to have a lot of people that, they get a lot of like non-U.S. embassy employees. So, like the Korean embassy or the Colombian university or not university, embassy. And so the kids are kind of more in and out a little bit more, but then also have a number of Salvadoran kids there. And so he's really enjoyed that. Both my kids like the schools that they went to. So it's just kind of getting a sense of where they're going to fit in the best.
Well, and now you're seeing, we're hoping, fingers crossed, there's going to be more school options on the coast.
Yeah.
So
I hear lots of talk and
and I think it sounds like that's something that's going to happen. Which presents new opportunities. And this is the other thing is I think another trend we're seeing is like more services and more offerings on the coast. Like El Encuentro is now we have a Super Selectos and there's a salon.
Well, when we moved to El Zante, like people thought we were crazy in San Salvador. Like, I mean, it's only an hour. But it was like you told them that you were living in the like far outback woods in the U.S. or something, like, and nobody could conceive because at that time, culturally, it was you had your beach house, especially for wealthy Salvadorans. You live in San Salvador. Anywhere else you just wouldn't even think about living. It's uncivilized. But then you have your beach house that you go for like Saturday and Sunday, but you would never live at the beach, like. That was like my daughter told me when she started at EA, the kids would like give her a hard time because she was like poor because that's where the poor people live at the beach. And, you've seen like that shift where now people from San Salvador, they all want to live at the beach.
Well, and this is also a reason why like the prices are pretty comparable to what you would see in San Salvador. You know, if you want to buy a lot and build a house, it's kind of like in certain ways, some of the areas are more expensive than the city, right?
Yeah.
But there's also like you are seeing more people wanting to come.
No, a lot of Salvadorans that are moving to the coast.
Oh,
that 10 years ago they wouldn't have like, you know, they'd been embarrassed to live at the coast, but now it's like the cool thing to do. It's so funny.
Yeah. So, you know, I went to see a beachfront house in Costa del Sol last week with an agent that we have a relationship with, and they have the listing direct, and we went to see it, and it's just beautiful. And we were talking about also tendencies of like foreigners versus Salvadorians and the preferences they prefer. He has mostly Salvadorian client base, and was talking about how most of his clients prefer like a block modern house, right? Versus I feel like we have a lot of clients who are interested in those kind of charming Spanish style homes, you know? So we went to see this house, which was mostly this kind of like Spanish style house, which I love. It's, you know, I love it. So, but that house is 30 minutes from the airport, an hour to the city. And I've never really thought about Costa del Sol. I still don't want to live there, but it's
there's no surfing there. So.
Yeah, there's no surfing there, and but it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, the beaches are beautiful.
You know, and this house in particular, I was like, wow, like imagine you can live in this oceanfront property. It's sandy white beaches, you know, and then just drive an hour. I mean, you could literally live there and drive an hour to the city. Good every day. I mean,
we do it from here,
and just fly into the airport and you're there in 30 minutes. So yeah, there's good opportunities all over the country. That's another thing we're seeing are people are expanding their areas of interest outside of just El Zonte or Surf City 1, you know, definitely Surf City 2, Punta Mango, but all over the country, you know, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about the discovery trip. I think, do you want us to play the video first?
Yeah, we can do that.
Paco, can we pull that video up? So I love that you guys are doing this because there's so many people, they want to come to El Salvador, they want to check it out, but they feel like intimidated. Like, oh, I don't know anybody. Where would I start? And what would I do? And, you know, you're just going to like show up and stay in some random hotel. So you guys have this package where you take care of all the logistics, you connect them with lawyers, with, you know, obviously you guys provide the real estate services, but you connect them with architects, with builders, with all the different things, you know, school tours, that sort of stuff. So let's play the video real quick. Where's that?
That's actually Maui.
Okay. So, and then you bring speakers in. I mean, like myself sometimes.
Yeah. You know what? We created this because we saw a real need for it. It's not a cheesy timeshare pitch. I think some people are like, I'm not going to go on a group thing because they're going to try and sell me something I don't need. And, you know, but actually there are so many people interested in El Salvador. And so we created this just to give people the tools, knowledge, and like connections that they need to have a good starting point here. So if people aren't necessarily ready to invest in real estate, they can do this and they can put their feet on the ground. They can get a sense of the area. They can get a sense of the market. They can, we went to the Minister of Economy. So I think it's a great jump off point for people who are interested in El Salvador. It's been hugely successful, actually. You know, people have found it really, well, they've said they've found it really valuable. So, and it's been fun. I think one of the best things that was, one thing I didn't realize about the power of these was actually the people who come meeting each other and vibing off of each other. You know, we're so focused on like, we're so focused on, we're going to provide this experience for all these people coming, but then the people coming kind of make it their own experience, share their own resources. We have we have two people that came on one of our discovery trips. They're actually buying a piece of property together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's been great, like I think it's been super valuable. And there's no pressure to buy anything. We're not selling any one thing. We're just,
you guys charge people like a fair amount for the service. So you're paying for that. It's not like, hey, we'll bring you in here on this cheap rate and then we're going to like hammer and, feel like you're obligated to buy something. It's like, hey, you come in, you pay, for the services you're getting, but then we're going to put you in contact with all these people that would take you months if you were trying to do it on your own.
Yeah.
You can do it in the context of this fun group with these other people. And then if you find a place you want to buy, great. If not,
Yeah. And we, I would say, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, can you cut that?
Nope. You're gonna have to look old like me. So.
I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I think it's a great experience, and everyone should do it. No, I can't remember what I was gonna say, but yeah, it's been wonderful, and for us, it's been really fun because we've made new friends, we've made great connections. Like we're able to link people up and share resources, and so yeah, we have another one June 22nd through the 27th. And
how do people sign up for that? What's
they can
give us an idea of like what it entails, what a schedule would be.
Yeah, so it's basically so we provide accommodations, airport transport. We basically cover everything in the cost of the trip, which is starting at $2,000 to $4,000, and that just depends on if you want a private room or what. We don't have. It's only if you do a shared room, it's just two people in one room, so it's not like it's a shared room of bunk beds or something like that. But we provide accommodations. We have workshops with. We always do a workshop with a lawyer, an architect, a civil engineer, and an accountant. Those are always included. And then every trip we have kind of like guest appearances from, I don't know, whoever's in town at that point, or like we kind of try and throw in different people for that. They're not throw in. We curate it well, right?
Yeah.
But and what else? We do a tour.
And you guys go like to different parts of the country, and
we do a full day.
Visit
real
different
estate,
types of homes for sale.
Different types of we do a full day of real estate showings. We do a visit to San Salvador. But I think, we really focus on San Salvador, Zaragoza. We tour El Encanto, which is cool for people to see. So I think it's a really great like macro view of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we see is people they're super excited, and then maybe they come back and they do a visit to Punta Mango, and so we've actually even toyed with the idea of like, let's do another one, but let's rent Mike's place and do it in Punta Mango. So that's a little bit about what's included.
So they should get on there and sign, because that's just around the corner.
Yeah, it's in a month. Yeah. So we actually have some reservations for that, but we do have some spots left. So if people want to do it, they can just get in touch with us on our website. They can find us on Twitter.
And that's what is the website? Is it just
goodlifeelsalvador.com?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Twitter handle is
goodlife_SV.
Okay.
Yeah. So any if you Google Good Life El Salvador, you'll find us too. So
or just hit up Chimbera on Twitter.
And
then
he'll send it to me,
and then hit him up again because he forgets to send it to Lexi.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
I know that because that's how I am with my wife. She's got to send it to me 3 times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, that's super exciting. I'm not just shilling you guys. I would definitely recommend people sign up for a trip like this. I mean, it just makes it so easy, and you'll just learn so much, and you'll cover so much, and it winds up saving you money because you don't make mistakes with bad lawyers and bad architects and those sorts of things, because those will cost you tens of thousands.
Yeah, it saves you money, it saves you time, and I think that one thing that it's not for everybody, because I've said this before. You can come here and you can make all those connections on your own, and you can figure out everything on your own.
But it's a lot of work. I did that on my own. I would have much rather had somebody kind of hand it to me.
Yeah,
so.
and then you decide, then you can do whatever you want. But I think that really helps, and for us too, it made a lot of sense. Like, I think people still are on the fence when they're thinking about real estate and buying real estate in a new country like El Salvador. And we charge for our services. Like, we charge for this because for us it's also a lot of knowledge and time that we've put in, so we can share that. But we aren't also spending. I mean, we could spend all day giving out free information to people. So at some point you have to. So this service makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, it's fair for everybody on both sides.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that wraps it up. Maybe
Cool.
Unless you have anything else you wanted to share.
No. No. I love living here. Everyone always asks me, like, what is it like living there? I lived in New York City for 10 years before this, and I've been here for 5 years. I still love it. So I really encourage everybody to come and visit as a first step to El Salvador.
And if you are in the market for real estate, definitely hit up Good Life. I mean, I've been here for 22 years, and they're the reason I bought this house that I'm in now, because they found it, and I had no idea it was even for sale. And Roman went out there and beat the bushes for me and found this. So definitely highly recommend them.
Thanks,
and
Mike.
And then, of course, you don't have to deal with Chimbera because he's scattered like me. Then you can actually get to deal with Lexi, who's very organized. So you get the best of both worlds between the two of them. So highly recommend you check out Good Life. And I appreciate you coming on, Lexi.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me, Mike.